What is going on, y'all? This is John with Facemask Fantasy, and today we're talking Irv Smith Jr. because Irv Smith Jr. should be the tight end one for the Vikings in 2022, with Tyler Conklin, who filled in admirably last year for Irv Smith in 2021, long gone. So let's get into some background on Irv Smith since we haven't seen him on the field very much in his young career. The Vikings selected Alabama tight end Irv Smith with the 50th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft as a 20-year-old, and he's 6'2", 242 pounds, and in college, Irv Smith succeeded O.J. Howard as the Crimson Tide's primary tight end. And as a junior in college in 2018, Irv Smith averaged 16.1 yards per catch and generated a 157.7 passer rating when targeted to lead all SEC tight ends. And we love prospects who performed well in the SEC, as it is the closest to NFL caliber defenses as you can get in the college ranks. And in the combine, prior to being drafted, Smith's 4.6 340 impressed. Since the year 2000, his 40 time at the combine was the 7th fastest of all 6'2" tight ends. For comparison's sake, that puts him about a tenth of a second quicker than Jordan Reed, who, if you remember, was a monster to defend in his prime when healthy in the NFL. And since he's been in the NFL, Irv Smith Jr. has shown flashes of potential in his limited role. Now again, we cannot talk about his 2021 role because he tore his meniscus before the 2021 season. So let's dig into his 2020 season. Despite sharing a role with Rudolph and Tyler Conklin in 2020, Smith's 7 deep targets ranked 13th at the position. His average target distance of 8.3 ranked 10th, and he was second at the position in fantasy points per target. He also sported a QB rating per target of 134.4, which was second in the league that year as far as tight ends go. On a per play basis in 2020, Irv Smith did about all he could with limited snaps, and when Rudolph was ruled out in Minnesota during his 2019 and 2020 seasons, Irv Smith has produced. Smith averaged 10.68 PPR points per game without Rudolph in 2020, seeing an uptick in all of his numbers across the board. The yardage and the touchdown totals that he accumulated over the span without Kyle Rudolph, if extrapolated, would have equated to 51 receptions for 621 yards and 10 touchdowns, which would have put him in the high-end TE1 category in any of the last 3 years. In the last 4 games of the 2020 season, when Rudolph was injured, Smith was a top 3 tight end over the span, twice by fantasy points per game. And Smith is still just 23 years old. He has a ton of long-term potential, especially considering his role in the Minnesota offense and considering that this offense is about to be opened up in ways we haven't seen in recent memory for the Vikings, as they have a new coaching staff, and it's one that should be bringing a much more modern approach to this offense, more modern than we've seen from this offense in a very long time. I like Irv Smith in all formats. In season long, he's a late round option at the tight end position, and he should finish in the top 10 if the numbers I project for him in terms of red zone work and touchdowns end up coming to fruition. And I expect him to be a TD threat week in, week out. And at the position of tight end, where if you don't get a top 4, top 5 option, you're basically punting, he's a huge buy for me. And in Dynasty, I like him almost even more. Again, he's only 23 years old, and he's already taking the tight end 1 role in this offense with enough targets to go around and a QB that is adequate enough to get him the ball. Cousins isn't great, but he isn't terrible either. And I'd bet on Irv Smith being a building block alongside Cook and Jefferson for this team for years to come. So what do you think about the prospects for Irv Smith Jr. next year? Put your thoughts in the comments section below, or better yet, tune into one of our weekly live streams. We have a live stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. EST. So come in, ask your question about Irv Smith Jr. or any other fantasy related situation, and we can have a conversation about it in real time. But thank you for listening. My name is John. This is Facemask Fantasy. Have a great day.